So let's talk about the Heritage Food Festival. Let's talk about what the idea behind it is and, what's going to happen there.
So it's November 8th to the 10th. It's at Terrapin Hill Farm in Harrodsburg, Kentucky. You go to heritagefoodfest.org and please buy a ticket because we need to sell some tickets. We have an awesome crew of teachers, so it's like sort of Friday arriving, making camp. The site is gorgeous. There's all these covered spaces. There's a kitchen shack with running water, ice, power, and a 3-compartment sink that you can hook up to a hose. So bring your own dishes. You can wash your own dishes. Like, it's so convenient. It blows my mind having organized a festival in other locations prior to this. I'm so happy. It has bathrooms.
Yeah, showers and bathrooms.
Oh, it's so great. It's like there's not going to be a shortage of plumbing. Like, it's going to be amazing.
Fancy plumbing.
Yeah. It's like camp showers.
Yeah.
Like for 4-H camp or something.
Yeah,
and then we'll have an opening fire because, people have been gathering around fires for like 100,000 years. And then Dylan's going to render lard over it all day on Saturday and teach people what that looks like. It's a mix of real practical skills. So like processing a chicken or like making a nice fall ferment that mixes in herbs with your cabbage, or making sourdough. We're working with a lot of Weston A. Price Foundation people. So, dietary, traditional diets for health. Again, we called it heritage because we do not believe that the arc of history leans towards everything getting better forever until we go to Tomorrowland and the stars. We actually don't think that's true, and are interested in like actually countering that narrative by saying, no, heritage is worth revitalizing. And then there's like people who are focused. There's Bionutrient Food Association is co-hosting. So Dan Kittredge is doing a keynote about soil health leading to food health, principles of biological systems, and like the connection between healthy biological systems and in the ground and in the livestock and in the vegetables, and healthy biological systems inside your guts and your brain and all the places where you turn out to be a biological system too. And then some really good, really top-notch permaculture. I think, maybe probably one of the best permaculture sites east of the Mississippi at Salamander Springs Farm. Susanna Lean built it out of straight up red clay and brambles, like on a hillside off grid. And she's spent a lot of time in Guatemala, and so her class is called Milpa permaculture. So a Milpa system is like what Central American people put in their yards when they don't want to starve where they live, which is a combination usually of like chickens, corn, squash, beans, and 15 other plants that work well with them. It's terraced, like, and so she's a genius at what she does. And I think she's also going to do seed saving. And then this guy, Mark Cohen, who comes from Agraria, he lives in Yellow Springs, Ohio, and he's been teaching these resilience classes so he's got this like kind of, we call them like lifeboats, on grid, off grid. How do you deal with, how do you create systems for yourself that give you resilience in the face of unknown futures? And an inner terrain, outer terrain, which goes to what we were kind of just talking about, that sort of like your the links between your mental states and what you create on the landscape, which is one of the things I'm most excited about. So yeah.
Cool. Dylan, do you want to add anything about the festival?
No, I just think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think we're trying to set it up to have a little bit for everybody that's into this stuff. So you can go listen to, some pretty in-depth soil microbiology talks and tie that in, or you can come out and sit by a fire. We are intentionally having it in kind of that first full weekend in November. So it's hopefully cool enough in Kentucky to kind of gather everybody around the fires, and also to be able to, be out there cutting up chickens and stuff like that, which we'll do a little bit of. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's fun. A couple of comments. First of all, I love that there's all these practical aspects to it. That's so cool. there's it seems like it's there. Jason Snyder, who you guys need to meet, there's like a whole southern contingent growing kind of around like North Carolina, but you know, just a lot in Appalachia in general, that's like around Doomer Optimism. And Jason was saying like, you know, I just don't like these Asheville events because like it's like yoga and music, but there's like nothing practical at all, you know, about it. And like it should be a mix of those things. It should be, you know, a bunch of different things that appeal to all different kind of people. But he's like, he's always making fun of these Asheville events. Like,
Yeah. Well, let's get everybody to Kentucky and,
Tell him to
and record a
come.
live
yeah.
episode at Doomer Optimism.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's like, I love these practical ones. I love that it's built around the Ohio River Valley. I love that. I think that as many of these kind of heritage festivals, like around, especially around a watershed, is such a cool thing, such a cool way to conceptualize it. But like, we need to have these festivals all over the place. This is such a cool model. Anyone who can come to this and think about how they could do something, a similar kind of model in their region, I think you should definitely go and check it out. I did an event like this, attended an event like this in Uruguay, and it was just such a like enriching experience. I mean, between like super, like you were saying, Dylan, there's like these super soil nerd people who just want to nerd out on like soil health, and then there's people who like talk about nutrition and holistic medicine, and people, then you could just hang out around the fire and talk to people, like the kids can run around, there's really good food, like just the whole thing. I had such a magical experience, and I feel like these kinds of festivals can just be so like really amazing, and not just have a good experience and walk away, but like make connections that really matter and learn about things you actually practically want to implement in your life, and or maybe do a similar kind of thing in your region. We definitely need more of these things. So yes,
And then that Sunday, we're going to do like asset mapping. Ken Meter, who wrote Building Community Food Webs, is going to come down. And we're
awesome.
going to do like, what do we have in our region? What's lacking? What are people working on next? How can we amplify the volume of from here for here food
Mm,
in general?
I love that.
Well, in specific.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
just to amplify that last point, Ashley, if you don't mind, real quick, I really, I'm glad that you're kind of that you've latched on not just the hands-on, but the sort of casual piece of it, because that's a huge thing that we've been hearing from our farmers. And then we met you at a conference, and we do these field days and all these things that are very informative, but they are a little bit formal. What we find is we see the same people at 5 years, 10 years. There's new people too, but they're getting, and what everybody wanted was, in our farmer network especially, is something that's just a little more casual, where we know we're going to get to talk about these things, but it doesn't have to be all presentations, or it can have that and you can go do this. So we think that's a truly important part. We have these get-togethers, and there's very little space for new conversations to erupt, which is what kind of Alice did when we met you, and we're trying to keep that going. So I hope that makes it more approachable for a lot of people, because we want to hear what everybody is doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've had this kind of tension in my other events too, where it's on the one hand, like you want to get as much information out there as possible. You want to give people a platform to talk and, whatever, but then people get burnt out on the talks, and they really, I mean, what people want, and Alice, you were talking about this earlier, but like people are lonely and they really want like good conversation. They want to feel, I was just saying this to a reporter who was covering this last event, like I'm less interested in the kinds of events that people go to for status or clout. I'm more interested in cultivating events where people go to be understood and to understand. Like it's really, that's what it is. I mean, a lot of the people who I think of in the Doomer Optimism Network are like farmer philosophers are very lonely. They're doing their thing. They're very pig-headed, and they're, pushing their way forward into the world. But a lot of times they don't have like, other opportunities to hang out with other people who are like at their level and, experiencing the same thing. So just having like a cool place to hang out, sit around the fire, have food together. I think it's so important. And I think it's so cool you guys are doing that. Okay. Any final thoughts or words you want to get out there while we have you? There's a whole contingent of people in the South who are like trying to get organized. And so I don't know, maybe you could invite them in to this, to
Yeah.
join with you and collaborate, not just to come to this festival to get to know you both, but maybe do something, get part of your network somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to. That's one of the reasons why we do this. We like to build networks and connect networks.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was so nice. I'm so glad you guys finally came on. Thanks for reaching back out, Alice. It was like we had kind of a slow summer recording. It was just such a busy time, but now we're like kind of back in the swing of things, like re-energized, ready to help everybody with their various projects. So this was cool. I'm so glad you guys got to come on. And now you're officially part of the Doomer Optimism Club.
All right.
Welcome. You can't leave. It's like Hotel
Yeah.
California.
You're sending a button in the mail, right?
Yeah, exactly. I gotta
Yeah.
make
All right.
buttons. All right. Talk to you guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks a
Ashley.
lot.
All right. Bye.